Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
What if your emotional life didn't have to feel like a constant reaction or a constant recovery? Welcome to the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic, a global online clinic offering psychotherapy, coaching, integrative well-being services, and mind-body practices, all in one place. At International Awareness Integration Institute, we don't just talk about change, we train it. Our work is guided by awareness integration theory, an evidence-based psychological and educational model designed to reduce anxiety and depression patterns, strengthen emotional regulation, and help you build a life that feels meaningful, steady, and fulfilling. Whether you're navigating stress, relationship strain, burnout, life transitions, trauma symptoms, or simply the feeling that you've outgrown your old life, you'll find a clear path forward here, supported by licensed professionals and expert practitioners. If you're ready to feel better, think clearer, and live fully, join the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic today. Visit awarenessintegration.com and book your first session or join our membership.
Then what is intelligence? So there's the theory of multiple intelligence put forth by Howard Gardner. And basically what is intelligence? It's a set of skills and capacities to produce valuable products within cultural context. So we have cognitive intelligence that draws on cognitive resources like mathematical, logical reason, verbal reasoning, vocabulary, etc. So there are many aspects actually of our IQ. We think IQ is a one number, but it has verbal and mathematical, spatial reasoning. Similarly, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to draw on emotional resources and information to manage emotions in ourselves and others. And so what is spiritual intelligence? It's the ability to draw on spiritual resources and qualities and cultivate and embody them in daily life to help ourselves and everybody else. So it's not just the transcendence, interconnectedness, that's part of it, but living a life of purpose helps us individually. When we embody greater purpose in our life, that helps us individually and helps us collectively. If we embody gratitude or compassion or forgiveness or humility, any and each of these qualities is supportive to the individual as well as to people around us.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today. If you've been doing your best, but still feel stuck in anxiety, relationship stress, or the weight of old patterns, this is where things begin to shift. At the Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic, we offer something different. We provide two pathways forward. In psychotherapy, our licensed clinicians help heal unresolved trauma, reduce anxiety and depression, and navigate life transitions. In coaching, our certified coaches help you build confidence, leadership, and relationship mastery, turning insight into decisive action. Both are guided by Dr. Foojan Zeine's evidence-based awareness integration theory, a structured roadmap from awareness to integration to action. During our summit, save 25% on all services from March 22nd through 29th. Visit awarenessintegration.com to book your first session or request to be matched with the right provider.
Welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist and author and the founder of the International Awareness Integration Institute. So today I will be talking with Dr. Yosi Amram. He's a clinical psychologist, a CEO leadership coach, and a best-selling and award-winning author. Previously, the founder and the CEO of two companies which led thought successful IPOs. Yosi has coached over 100 CEOs many of whom have built companies with thousands of employees and revenues in the billions. In addition to working with individuals, Yosi works with couples interested in passionate, conscious relationships that serve their psycho-spiritual healing and growth. Now, with engineering degrees from MIT, an MBA from Harvard, and a Ph.D. in psychology from Sofia University, he is a pioneering researcher in the field of spiritual intelligence, whose research has received over 1,000 citations. As a C-suite Amazon, Barnes & Noble best-selling author of the Nautilus Book Award gold medal winning Spiritually Intelligent Leadership, How to Inspire by Being Inspired. Yosi is committed to awakening greater spiritual intelligence in himself and the world. Yosi is also the founder of several nonprofits, including truemasculinity.org, engenderingLove.org, and awakeningsi.org. It was a beautiful conversation that we had. I was quiet most of the time, just enjoying his conversations and how he got to where he is today and blending what he knew from the world of business and how to come close to himself, within himself, and then bring what the inspiration was inside, the healing, the generosity that it was inside, to bring it into not only the leadership, but now to the world with all that he does at this point. So I'm sure you'll enjoy his conversation as much as I did. Now be sure to subscribe to my podcast and my YouTube channel and connect with me through my website, foojanzeine.com, and on any of the social media platforms. Remember, go to awarenessintegration.com, and it's a virtual clinic for all that you need for mind, body, health, your well-being is all in one place, shared for you. Awarenessintegration.com. Go to Foojan.com for the app and the AI companion Mira that is there for you to answer your questions of mental well-being and how you can have a fulfilled life. Share your thoughts with me. I love to hear from you. Now, without any further ado, here is Dr. Yosi Amram.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Yeah, sometimes the mind understands, but the body still holds the stress. That's why the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic offers mind-body services that help you regulate your nervous system, restore calm, and return to yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. Our reflective practices include guided mindfulness, breath work, yoga, and grounding exercises, and specifically curated to support emotional regulation and physiological calm. Our somatic integration practices are a refined body-led approach where healing begins with presence, working with breath, sensation, posture, and gentle movement, so resilience becomes felt, not forced. And for those who want deeper whole person support, we offer functional well-being guidance, addressing the interplay between hormonal balance, digestion, sleep architecture, and lifestyle factors with a root cause holistic framework. This is not self-care as a luxury. This is self-regulation as a life skill and a pathway to fulfillment. Choose the support your body and life have been asking for. Visit awarenessintegration.com to join a weekly meditation, explore somatic healing, breathwork, yoga-inspired movement, or functional medicine services, and start feeling the difference.
So excited to have Dr. Yosi Amram with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm delighted to be with you.
So you have written a book about spirituality and spiritually intelligent leadership. So it's almost like not only going in, but also going out, right? So first there's a way of being connected to yourself, and then allowing that connection to inspire your leadership. And the leadership goes into your connection with the world and how it impacts the world. So I'd like to ask you, first of all, why and how come?
Wow. Okay. Well, first I'll just say that you kind of got the essence of it. I love how you kind of summarize the point is go within so you can go outside. I mean, the whole subtitle of the book is How to Inspire by Being Inspired. And what you were alluding to is how essentially leadership is first and foremost as an inside job. We can't lead anybody else until and when we lead ourselves. We can't inspire anybody else until and when we are inspired ourselves. So, how come, like, what you mean, like, how come I wrote this book and what is this?
Yeah,
So,
what inspired you to get to here first, but personally and individually, before you chose to put it in a book and share it with the rest of us?
okay, so how many days or hours do we have for my answer? Basically, it's my entire life story that really comes together in this book. I would have never known it looking forward, but looking back, it all makes sense. So I'll try and be brief. So my journey actually started, as I mentioned, I was born and raised in Israel, a war-torn part of the world. It's horrific what's happening right now in the Middle East, and between your country of origin and my country of origin. But I'm just honored that we can, as two human beings, connect and put our politics and whatever, all of that aside. But at any rate, I was kind of a math and science nerd kid, and that was shy and introverted and pacifistic. But like all young men in Israel, I was drafted into the military. Luckily, it was peaceful time. But to my surprise, even though I never dreamed of such, I excelled and had the fastest promotion record in the history of my regiment and won all these leadership awards. Um, but the command and control model of the military, which is necessary at war and battle, where you don't have time to take people into a conference room and do some whiteboarding, someone has to call the shots. Really, and it's also great at creating cohesion and giving a sense people of shared destiny that we're in this together. And our survival depends on each other. But on the other hand, it doesn't really support the growth of the individual. So that sort of command control model really chafed at my soul. And I got inspired or motivated to someday build an organization and lead people based on more humanistic principles. And that led to my lifelong aspiration and dream to start my own company and experiment in different models of leadership. So that led me to come to the US and study engineering and business. And ultimately, I became a tech entrepreneur. And my first company was called Individual Inc. It was focused on supporting the individual, but still within a community and team spirit environment. So this was like my lifelong dream. And I was working 70, 80 hours a week, etc. And eventually I burnt myself out. And you might say that I had a dark night of the soul if I was to use spiritual language. From a clinical language standpoint, you can look at it as a depression. But I persisted. This happened when the internet came, and I didn't know how to move our business model to the internet. But eventually, we figured it out. And I took the company public, and it was all a big success. And it was the early days of the internet. And I was running around trying to capitalize on the internet. And one day I was trying to relax, getting a massage. And while I was laying on the table, relaxing, sort of my ego dissolved. And I had what I can only describe as a sudden recognition of the interconnectedness of everything. And they kind of led to a spiritual awakening, something that many people spend years meditating to get to this kind of experience of oneness and awakening. But that happened to me through a deep tissue massage. But that kind of blew a fuse in my mind, and it made me very ungrounded. I was getting downloads about the future of the internet, and where it was all going, a lot of which came true in hindsight, but I was very ungrounded from this awakening. It's known when people have something called in the yogic tradition, Kundalini awakening, it can destabilize you if you don't have the vessel or the container to hold all that energy. So I was pushing my team and my board harder than ever to move very fast and capitalize on the new internet opportunity, but it wasn't really practical what I was trying to do. So my board, we couldn't execute that quickly. And my board decided to, quote unquote, that I needed a break and they should put me on what they called a voluntary leave of absence. There was nothing voluntary about it. And so, but that was the board resolution. And then they issued out a press release and our stock price got cut in half. And there were headline stories in the Wall Street Journal about how Yosi Amram, the founder of Individual, was forced out or put on a leave of absence, New York Times, etc. So it was very traumatic because the company was my baby and I lost it. And but that changed the direction of my life. I then ultimately went back to school to become a psychologist. And I studied a field called transpersonal psychology, which integrates spirituality and psychology to explore the higher potentials of the human psyche. And I was trying to understand what happened to me and why was I so identified with the company? Was this spiritual awakening real or delusional? And that's when I ran across the term spiritual intelligence. And I knew of emotional intelligence and all the research that showed that emotional intelligence contributes to leadership, better life, better relationships, more success in many domains. I was like, is there a parallel here with spiritual intelligence? The term was introduced by a woman called Dana Zohar, but she didn't really define it. And if you want to study something scientifically, like it's been done with emotional intelligence, you have to figure out how to measure it. So I set out on a path to define what it is and develop the first academically validated measure of spiritual intelligence. And with that, I was able to show that leaders that had a higher level of spiritual intelligence were more effective leaders. They had teams that had greater commitment, more identification, lower turnover.
What is the measurement for that?
Well, it's a self-report measure of spiritual intelligence. It's called the Integrated Spiritual Intelligence Scale. It has an 83 items in the long form and a short form that is just as reliable as 45 items, but it has 5 domains and 22 capacities. So the 5 domains relate to meaning, how we find our purpose and use our skills and talents to be of service. There's a domain of grace, which has to do with bringing gratitude and joy and beauty to every moment of our life and living on a foundation of trust and finding meaning in the setbacks and difficulties. There's a domain of truth where we are focused on doing what is right rather than being right and living in devotion to truth. There's a domain of wisdom, which has to do with self-knowledge and intuition, which is basically the classical thing of know thyself, knowing ourself in our depth, starting with the Greeks and many traditions. And then there's a domain of transcendence, which looks at our interconnectedness and understanding how each of us is a unique cell in this larger organism of life. And we're all part of this web of life, this one web of life. And it calls on each of us to exercise our skills to care for ourself while caring for the greater whole that we're a part of.
So is that the consideration of where it becomes intelligent? What you just said, where not only we're aware of ourselves, but every decision is also for the betterment of me and everyone in the cosmos by itself. Is that where the line goes into toward intelligence?
Well, so the question is then what is intelligence? So there's the theory of multiple intelligence put forth by Howard Gardner. And basically, what is intelligence? It's a set of skills and capacities to produce valuable products within cultural context. So so we have cognitive intelligence that draws on cognitive resources like mathematical, logical reason, verbal reasoning, vocabulary, etc. So there are many aspects actually of our IQ. We think IQ is a one number, but it has verbal and mathematical, spatial reasoning. Similarly, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to draw on emotional resources and information to manage emotions in ourselves and others. And so what is spiritual intelligence? It's the ability to draw on spiritual resources and qualities and cultivate and embody them in daily life to help ourselves and everybody else. So it's not just the transcendence, interconnectedness, that's part of it, but living a life of purpose helps us individually. When we embody greater purpose in our life, that helps us individually and helps us collectively. If we embody gratitude or compassion or forgiveness or humility, any and each of these qualities is supportive to the individual as well as to people around us. The point about it, actually, that's interesting, you don't have to, quote unquote, be spiritual to be spiritually intelligent. It's the same as you don't have to be emotional to be emotionally intelligent. If I asked you, do you know people in your life that are emotional? That might not be the best compliment. They might be sort of prone to drama, they get teary at every puppy commercial, whatever. But when you say someone is emotionally intelligent, it means they could draw on emotional resources, but they bring it with reason. So there used to be a dichotomy between emotion and reason up until emotional intelligence. Now, in our world, there's a dichotomy between being practical and being spiritual. We think that being spiritual is woo-woo, and it involves all kinds of beliefs. And we can have spiritual beliefs like in higher power or the immortality of the soul, etc. We can also have spiritual experiences like I can meditate and I can enter samadhi, or I can pray or whatever and feel connected to angels or whatever it is. Those are experiences and beliefs, but spiritual intelligence is not a belief, it's not an experience. It's the ability in our daily life to embody these qualities that I mentioned, which have been seen as virtues for thousands of years, and live a life of purpose and service and gratitude and so on.
So you're taking a conceptualization, internal experience, and turning them into practical tools of behaviors which impacts the world or the collective. For example, and then when you're talking about the leadership, and if we're taking it into company leadership, you could take it leadership in any angle. You could do it in in your family systems or in the community or so many different ways, but also in the corporations. That instead of just coming from a product-oriented goal, or at the end of the goal, this is what I have to have, or the finances, and a very specific, tangible goals that we just do behaviors in order to get there. Instead of just being from a behaviorist concept, you're adding this part of the concept of how can I be inside, where I hold these types of virtues, which are beneficial to me and the collective together, and bring that into the meetings in the every way that I envision for the future, for the company, for my relationship with each person who is in the company, or we're collaborating together in a way, to move forward with the projects. And look at the vision at the end, also the vision of the product or the project, whatever it manifests, for that to hold that value within it. Did I catch that accurately?
Yeah, that's excellent. That's great. So I think you're highlighting a few things. It's not just like, okay, we as a group or a team or a business are here to maximize profit or whatever. But we're here, we have a vision, a future that we're trying to create, whatever that is, whether it's to facilitate greater health. We're in the health business. We're whatever our business might be. We could be an airline and we're trying to help people transport and make the world a smaller place, and people can enjoy travel and explore and connect with their family in different parts of the world, whatever it is. But if we can bring people together where we have a shared sense of purpose and a shared vision and a shared sense of values, then our energies line up, and there isn't a toxic culture where people are coming from their egos and trying to put other people down in order to advance their personal agenda. So, for most people these days, we're suffering from a loneliness epidemic in our culture. Work is our primary community. We spend more of our waking hours, whether it's in person in the office or remotely on Zoom or some video technology, but our work is our community. So it's so important that people that are coming together are working towards a shared vision, a shared purpose, and a common set of values, and they feel the mutuality of care. And when you have that harmonization and that coherence at the organizational level, the energy is multiplied and not divided, and people are pulling in the same direction. So you get the benefits of that, which is why I said leaders that have greater spiritual intelligence produce teams with higher morale, greater commitment, lower turnover. And it's even been shown that they produce better financial results for their business units. And banks that have employees with higher level of spiritual intelligence produce better return on assets. And it's been shown that by many researchers worldwide in the last 15 plus years that spiritual intelligence contributes to mental health, resilience, satisfaction, quality of life, individual productivity, collective productivity. So it has many benefits across many domains. Now, the interesting thing is that these qualities, you mentioned the word virtues, I think it's a good word, have been shared across all the world's traditions. The way I came into this is I interviewed 71 teachers from all the world's major traditions. So Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, shamanism, and they all spoke of how they drew on these qualities to help their daily life. And that's how I came up with these 22 qualities across these 5 domains, and then figured out how to assess it. So that's coming from the spiritual traditions. And then you have this field called positive psychology that Marty Seligman and his colleagues developed. And it says, not only do we want to look at pathology and mental illness and treat that, we want to look at what contributes to the optimal well-being and healthy life. And then they came up with a scale called the values in action, or character strengths. And they have 24 qualities. And interestingly, over half of the qualities in the spiritual intelligence framework map directly with the positive psychology. Now you have a third field of study, which is called leadership development. So people have been studying what makes for great leaders, and it's purpose and service and integrity and humility and listening and all those same qualities. So Bain and Company, one of the top management consulting companies in the world that consults with the Global 2000 and does $1 million projects, they have studied 2,000 companies and looked at employees, and they found that employees that are inspired are twice as productive as people that are just going about doing their job to earn a paycheck. And then they identified 33 qualities in leaders that led to inspired work teams. And again, over half of the qualities in spiritual intelligence map into what Bain and Company identified as the qualities of inspiring leadership. So you have a convergence of all the world's traditions for thousands of years saying these are the qualities that lead to good life for the individual and societally collectively. Then you have positive psychology in the last 30 years saying, oh, these qualities lead to better life, better quality of life and well-being. And then you have leadership studies that are saying basically the same thing. So you have a convergence, a consilience of evidence from multiple domains and multiple researchers that are pointing at the same thing. So that increases our confidence that this is real.
And it takes it from a transactional space of dealing with each other and objectifying each other and all that. It shifts it into a respectful human relation perspective. Because when we're working together, regardless of why and what project we're doing, the purpose of the collaboration, it still takes a human dynamic between you and I in order for us to be able to collaborate more, in a way that we could produce more. So when it just goes into transactional space of, how can I use you? How can you use me? What do I need to bargain here? And, utilize each other only as a negotiation of a temporary negotiation of objectification. It has a different feel and a different result. And you're left with a different experience versus a relationship that is based on connection, and and the whole team, everyone there feels respected, feels like being treated like a human being and moving forward with it. And that's where the collaborations stay, and people want to stay in a company like that because they feel good about themselves and they feel good about the relationships that are there. They feel important. They feel they have a sense of belonging, which, humans need, animals need. So it shifts it from let's just get together to survive, and let me see who's the fittest of the all who can survive by beating the crap out of you, toward, yes, we could live together, we could survive together, we could live together. And what a concept. Maybe peace will actually be fruitful and prosperous, instead of always war being prosperous and creating money. Possibly peace could be the new fad. That would be interesting.
I'm in. So, no, I think you captured it well. You're talking about the difference between objectifying each other and sort of what Martin Buber talked about, the I-it versus the I-thou, and its two subjectivities. So I relate to you as a subject, and that creates a win-win, and you're a human being with your own feelings and aspirations and dreams, and there's mutuality of care and compassion. And when we feel that from each other, then it naturally draws us to people, and there's understanding, and we can listen to each other and learn from each other, and then the best ideas can prosper. And we're talking about it in the context of a team, right? And business. But, I've just been doing a research study about spiritual intelligence in couples, and you can imagine that how all these very same qualities of presence and gratitude and humility work in with our primary partner. And people get into egoic thing, I'm right, you're right. No, but in a partnership with our life partner, the only way I can be happy is if my partner is happy, because our nervous systems are so intertwined. And when I am in a room or sharing a bed with a partner and they're unhappy, I'm going to be unhappy. So, there's no win unless there's a win-win. And if it's transactional, as you said, then I'm like, what can I do to get the most out of you? And maybe it's like a business transaction. Okay, I'll give you so many dollars, or I'll scratch your back if you scratch my back. But that transactional mindset doesn't really open our heart, and we're in our head. But what we really want is to connect at the emotional heart level. And we now know that we have mirror neurons, that we have our hearts emit electromagnetic field that people around us 6, 10 feet can feel, and we're constantly influencing each other. If we walk home and somebody has been there even before we see them and they were angry and sad, we feel the energy of the space. We're kind of influence each other. So if we go in with a sense of compassion and care, then then there's a greater connection. We don't feel lonely. We don't feel isolated, and we so much need that human connection and care, and it supports our health and well-being and mood, and we're constantly, then we put ourselves in this positive feedback loop.
Yes, there's a name where you've put spiritual on it, and I think the reason I said virtual and virtues, and then you also shared that, looking at the biggest part of the spirituality world that we look at is, it's not just, okay, do this on a Saturday, do this on a Sunday, or do this on a Friday. It's a lot more about the virtues that is shared, and among all the spiritual world and religious world, there's a virtues that are being shared, and there's a reason why we're called upon to live those virtues, right? There's a reason to it certainly feels better, it feels good, right? So someone who is experiencing gratitude and love and acceptance, their experience in every single cell of their body, it has it feels bliss, versus being in anger or rage or hatred. Yes, those emotions also serve a purpose, and they're there because they serve a purpose. But ultimately, when you look at the body of a human being and the psyche of a human being, which emotion can you endure longer without damaging your body and the collective, right? So yes, the anger, rage, and hatred has its purpose in order for you to take care of yourself, if to set a boundary, to protect yourself. But in a long run, it will destroy your body. But if you kind of sit into gratitude and love and acceptance, you can live that way for a lifetime, and it not only doesn't damage your body, but it heals your body. Every cell of your body, it heals. So definitely all of these virtues have been set up as a health prospect, as a not only a survival prospect, but a living fulfilled life prospect. And to embody that, to experience it, to embody it, and then to live it, intentionally in every moment, in every behavior, in every reaction that is happening, to be able to be intentional in that, right? So like you shared, not only for myself, but also in my family systems, with my partner, with my children. And then I spend 8 hours to 10 hours a day at work. And how do I bring that intentionally to every relationship that I have at work? And creating this kind of an intentional system around myself so that I can, live a fulfilled life, versus going to the best universities, doing the best things, creating a lot of money, and yet not being fulfilled constantly, and grabbing at anything to be kind of fulfilled. So everyone, get this book, Spiritually Intelligent Leadership. Anything we haven't shared that you really want people to know?
Wow. Okay. Well, first, I just want to highlight everything you said. A total yes. It supports our physical health, mental health, emotional health. So I just want to underline everything you have summarized so beautifully. Yeah, we're talking about love and acceptance. As I said, I've just completed a study with 100 couples looking at how spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence, and attachment factors play into relational satisfaction. And all of them had a contribution, but the biggest impact, which was actually spiritual intelligence or spiritually intelligent relationship, I developed this 15 items of how spiritual intelligence shows up in a romantic relationship, and that had the biggest predictive factor on how people were satisfied. So, I mean, the beautiful thing about it is that when we think about it, everything in our life in the world is physical reality is resource constrained. If I have $100 in my pocket, I give you $1, I have 99 left, I have less. But if I have a certain amount of joy or gratitude or love in my heart, and then I share that with you, I don't have any less gratitude or any less love. In fact, the capacity, and I enjoy sharing it. So when we approach it from that kind of mindset in whatever relationship, and we share our gratitude and appreciation and with each other, then it's good for me and it's good for you, and then there's that positive feedback loop. So independent of whether you return that back to me or not, just putting it out into the world feels good for me. And I think if we each kind of ripple out this energy of gratitude and appreciation and joy and love and acceptance, like you said, it feels good to us. Much better than, as you said, anger, hatred, which serve a evolutionary purpose if it's in short bursts. But when it becomes chronic and we live in that in our nervous system, then all the hormones and the cortisol and the adrenaline burn us out. So this is crucial that we live from this place. The last thing I just want to quickly say is you say, okay, well, these are all virtues, but why do you call them spiritual intelligence, right? Why don't we just... So I'll say two things. One is they are the common virtues across all the world's traditions, like you said, regardless of if you believe if in the theology Muhammad was the final prophet or Jesus was the Messiah or, the Buddha was enlightened, whatever your theology, these are all the world's spiritual traditions believe in that. Secondly, when we connect to our spirit, our essence, which comes from Latin, spiritus means the animating breath of life or the life force. When we're connected to our life force energy, this qualities naturally emerge. We're naturally vibrant and generous and loving and compassionate. So this just kind of goes back to what you opened with, is we connect deep into ourself, into our essence, into our true nature, into our life force energy. These are the qualities that life wants to live through us. And it's good for our life, and it's good for the web of life at large. So I just wanted to kind of bring it home a little bit.
Yes. And it seems like when we fall far from it, it comes and catches you and brings you right back. So I was remembering the story you said about how you were, in this momentum of a business, and you were doing everything you thought you were doing right and all of it, and pushing. And then, you're finally like laying down, being with yourself and really being deep with deep tissues, deep inside of you. And then suddenly there's like a shake up. It's like, hey, wake up. You cannot be away from yourself. You've got to connect to you. And it seems like, yes, that connection took you by surprise, but it integrated within your system. And so it was interesting when you shared that. I thought, you may try to get away from yourself, but at one point it knocks at the door. And, as two therapists, we know that with trauma, right? It doesn't matter how much you disconnect from yourself after a trauma. In order to save yourself, at one point, that part of you constantly knocks at the door. And if you're not hearing it, it'll hit you by a 2x4 and say, wake up, like you've got to connect. And it might happen, at an earlier age, or, in your midlife crisis, or, right before you hit and you lose your mind. At one point, it will come at you and say, connect back to me. So the more intentional we are in listening and connecting back to ourselves, it seems like it allows us to live the time that we have on earth in a fulfilling way. How can people find you?
Well, if people can remember how to spell my name, they can go to yosiamram.net, but which may not be the easiest name to remember. So the alternative would be to go to spirituallyintelligentleadership.com. That's a longer thing you have to type out, or those would be two ways. You can certainly find my book anywhere you would wish. And I host free events for each of these qualities once a month. This coming Friday, we're hosting one on compassion and why compassion is so important right now. It's kind of the alchemical process of turning suffering that we experience within ourselves and the world around us, other people, and turn that into connection and to love. So each month I host a free event on one of these spiritual intelligence qualities. Last month was about love. This month is about compassion. The following month will be around centeredness. So come join these events. You can buy my book. You can get a free sample of the book on my website. So I have a YouTube channel of shorts. It's called at Awakening Spiritual Intelligence. So in many ways, just Google my name. You'll get me.
Beautiful. And we will put those in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity and the time to just be with us and share your experience and all that you're offering to everyone.
Likewise, thank you. It's been delightful to find the resonant soul, and you got it, and we're kind of, we're in this together. So it's great to know there are people that are working in the same direction. We need each and every one of us.
Yes, we do. We really do. And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Awareness, integration theory, certification programs. If you're a psychotherapist, clinician, or coach ready to elevate your impact, I invite you to become certified in the Awareness Integration Theory, AIT model. AIT is a structured, evidence-informed approach that strengthens emotional regulation, reduces anxiety and depression patterns, and helps clients create lasting change. Our training is practical, clear, and immediately usable in sessions, so you can work with more confidence and consistency. Join a global community of practitioners shaping the future of integrative mental health. Become AIT certified today. Visit awarenessintegration.com.